one. What are your recommendations for addressing misinformation when all of us see it on Facebook? Yeah, Lindsay.
Oh, Lindsay.
So I have 3 Lindsay's laws about this. And I'm forgetting the first, but I'll remember it, I'm sure. So that's where my brain is today. But the second is, the first is extraordinary claims require extraordinary measures, in the words of the great Carl Sagan, right? So he was a very famous scientist who's no longer with us. But basically, if somebody's coming out with something extraordinary, there better be a boatload of extraordinary evidence backing that up. So number 2 is be like Abraham Lincoln and assemble a team of rivals. Actively seek out competing viewpoints than what you're consuming. Triangulate, triangulate, triangulate. And the last, but certainly the not least, is get out there and amplify the good information. Focus more on that than debunking the bad. Debunking the bad sometimes works, but sometimes it has what's called a backfire effect, meaning you actually keep it in the news cycle unintentionally longer than it should be. So really part of our entire platform here at Dear Pandemic is amplifying the good stuff. We are big cheerleaders for good information. That's what we spread. And also, I'm just going to grab this and own it. We also really are working hard to amplify female expert voices. Because we think that their voices deserve amplification big time. So again, extraordinary claims, extraordinary measures. Be like Abraham Lincoln, assemble a team of rivals, triangulate your news sources, and last but not least, amplify the good.
Yes, thank you.
An example came to mind, that when we first started studying SARS-CoV-2, there was a study that came out looking in a lab setting how long it could last on surfaces, right?
Right.
We started from a point of zero knowledge about that, right? But a lot of the knowledge we first gain is in a lab setting, right? And then we have to wait to see how that translates to an applied setting in real people, right? And so, it takes time. There's steps to sort of learning about a new infection in different capacities before we understand completely how it acts in real life.
Yeah. And I want to, speaking of amplification, I want to amplify Amanda's point. And the way that I talk about this often is that we are fighting on 3 fronts: bench, bedside, broader population. And often the science sort of follows the same path, right? You learn things at the bench, then you learn it often in clinical settings, and then you see how it flies in the real world, right, in observational studies. So we're fighting this on 3 fronts. The information often starts at the bench first, and it takes a while to disseminate, change, evolve as it moves through to the broader society.
Yeah.
Although I'd say, interestingly, with this outbreak and a lot of infectious disease outbreaks, we're also innovating and experimenting at the population level. I mean, all these we're at Philadelphia. We're actually experimenting with different approaches to contact tracing to see, like, how do we get people to pick up the phone? What modality? Who should be calling? Should the number show in the phone? Is there a better time of day? And that's doing the science at the place where it's
at the population. Yeah. And it is kind of all reinforcing too. I don't want to oversimplify and suggest that it's like lockstep. So thanks, Alison. That's an important prompt. They all reinforce each other.